what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. It's been a while. I haven't been able to record because I had some dental work done a while ago that made it really hard for me to talk in a way that could be understood. But that's done now, so I can get back to the videos. I have quite a few planned up in the pipeline that you guys can be expecting very soon. But today's video is kind of a Q&A of sorts. I have a list of commonly asked questions that I get asked a lot that I thought would be fun to make a video on, just going over them, talking about them for a little bit, just chatting with you guys. And some of these I might flesh out and turn into an entire video, because a lot of these are very rich topics that I could talk about for like 15 minutes, because I'm a talker. If I'm passionate about something, I will talk your ear off. So, yeah, we're going to get into it. I have this broken into 4 categories. Yeah, 4 categories. So, yeah, let's get started first with film questions. Favorite superheroes? Okay. For me, Spider-Man was always my favorite. Ever since I was little and watched the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, which, by the way, is my personal favorite Marvel animated show. It's just amazing. If you guys haven't seen it, it's on Disney+. Oh my gosh, it still holds up. At least for me. It is amazing. So, Spider-Man's always been one for me. And recently, I'm talking recent, like, developing over the past 3 years recently, Scarlet Witch has risen up there too. I don't want to say second place, because to me, they're 2 completely different characters that you can't really compare. I mean, you're going to compare them because they're both superheroes, they're both in the Marvel Universe. But you can't really compare them. So, I'd say they're tied for first place for me as of this moment. So, yeah, those 2 are probably my favorite. I like characters from DC, but not nearly as much as I like the ones from Marvel. The characters from Marvel, just to me, in my opinion, they just have a lot more heart. There's a lot more there, character-wise, that is really fun to explore and see explored in movies and TV. So, yeah, those are my 2 favorites. And kind of stepping into that same question a little bit, Marvel or DC? Like I said, I've always preferred Marvel. It's just, I like the tone more, is basically what it comes down to. I like the tone more, and all the characters that I love are with Marvel, right? So, like, I like Wonder Woman from DC. Superman is good sometimes, if you have a good writer. But those are really, like, specific to stories, right? So, like, I loved the first Wonder Woman movie. Absolutely despise the second one. So it's like, as much as I like the character, they're not always good. You know what I mean? So, and with Superman, I do not like him in the movies at all. He is amazing in the CW. Like, in Superman and Lois, to me, that's the definitive Superman. So it's like, with those characters, it depends on the rendition. Right? Like, so actors, writers, just whatever variant of that character I'm seeing. But with Marvel, that doesn't bug me. It's like, every time I see the characters, it's the same quality, the same characteristics. It doesn't feel like it's a different version of the character every time I read a book or watch a movie. It's the same character, different story, some different traits because of writer or actor, but it's the same character. There's not that dissonance for me. That's another thing that comes down to for me. Third one, favorite acting performance / favorite actors. Okay, I have 2 from the Marvel Universe. I'll get to those. Another one that's one of my favorites is Christian Bale as Ken Miles in Ford vs. Ferrari. The more I watch that movie, the more I love that performance. There is so much there that I think he does such a good job at exploring all of the levels of that character. It's not just exploring what is needed on screen and what we see on screen. You can tell there's more there that isn't shown, and that's a hard thing to act on, right? It's hard to convey emotion that isn't shown explicitly, right? But you can tell there's more there for that performance, and in every scene, and I know every actor does this, right? So this isn't me saying like, oh, he invented this technique, because he didn't. Everyone's been doing it. But this is one of the best examples of it, is conveying emotion without saying anything. And I mean, the character talks a lot, so there aren't that many moments, but when it happens, it's amazing, right? So that, to me, is my favorite performance that's not in a Marvel movie. I can't think of any others that aren't that aren't Marvel movies that stand out to me, really. So I'll just get into my two from the Marvel movies. I'm sure you guys could probably guess it. It's the two actors who play my two favorite superheroes. So Elizabeth Olsen and Tom Holland. Those two have such great understanding of their character. And it might help that they've had arcs, right? So it's not just one movie. They've been in multiple movies, so they've been able to act on the evolution of the character. So, like, evolution of character-wise, I think that works a lot more with Wanda, with Elizabeth's performance. But I'll start with Tom. He brings a lot to the character of Spidey that, as a fan of Spider-Man, he's my favorite superhero. I really appreciate that. You know, like, you can tell he understands the character. In every single scene he is Peter Parker. Right, there's no time during any of the movies that I've seen him in as Peter have I ever thought, okay, that doesn't really fit, that doesn't work with the character. Because there aren't any. Every moment sticks with what the character's been established as. And a lot of that goes to the writing as well, I'll say. The writing for that character has been amazing throughout the movies. But Tom manages to capture that in such an impressive way and he has a lot of standout scenes. I will get to one of the major things that I noticed over the past week once I'm done talking about both of them. But yeah, there are so many standout scenes that he's in, but the quality of the performance is very consistent. You know, like, everyone in the MCU, all of them are fantastic actors. But the reason these two are two of my favorite actors, well, they are my two favorite actors. It's the same with comparing Spidey and Scarlet Witch. They're two completely different actors. They have two very different styles, and they play two completely different characters. So I'm not really going to compare them. I'm just going to say they are both two of my favorites. When it comes to performances or things like that, I'm not going to rank them necessarily. So saying they're my favorites doesn't mean one is above the other. But yeah, going back to it, I think all of the actors in the MCU are amazing. They wouldn't be cast in a Marvel movie if they weren't fantastic actors. But one of the things I notice is Tom's performance is more consistent through all the movies, right? So every actor has a standout moment where, like, this is the best they've been in the MCU, this is the best they've been in this movie, best they've been with this character. And where Tom as Spidey has those moments where the acting stands out, there are no moments that are worse than the others, right? Like, he might not be doing as much, but the quality of his performance never dips at all. It will raise at certain moments where he needs to act his head off more than he already is, like in Infinity War and Endgame. Perfect examples of the moment means that the acting needs to be better. He doesn't change anything. The moment changes what he needs to do, right? So I realize I'm rambling a lot on this point, and I apologize, but I'm very passionate about acting stuff. But one of the things you'll notice in Infinity War, his snap scene. I don't want to say his death scene because it's not a death, but at the end with the snap, people always say that's a standout moment for him, but he's always been able to act on that type of emotion and that type of thing. So, for example, in Homecoming, you see a similar thing to this. Not exact, but similar. When he's under the rubble and he needs to like lift it up, and you have that moment ripped straight from a comic, which I always appreciate. You see that same type of performance, right? So you see these beats, and he doesn't change anything. He just he adds to it. He doesn't change his style at all, which is something I appreciate. When a lot of times you can tell when an actor needs to they're changing things in the character to fit certain moments, but he just evolves his performance. He doesn't change it. I hope that makes sense, because the more I'm saying it, the more I'm like, wait, does that actually make any sense? So I hope you guys understand what I mean. So with Elizabeth, I think she brings a lot of depth to Wanda, and we've seen, like it's with Spidey, we've had evolutions of the characters, so this might help a little bit. But with her, you can see the performance changing, right? So in the same way I was just talking about, where the performance doesn't change, it evolves, right? Because it's the same character. You don't change. People don't, quote-unquote, change, right? They're still the same person. Elements of them change, and that evolves who they are, right? So I realize I'm saying right so a lot in this, and I apologize for that. But she doesn't change anything about the performance. It just evolves. I'll get that out of the way, because I know I've said it a lot. It's probably getting annoying, but there you go. In Age of Ultron, there's very much a kind of a held back performance, right? So there it is again. She does a lot, but doesn't have many speaking lines, because at that time the character is not reserved, I don't want to say, but there's not as much that she has to do in that story, right? So you see how she does the emotion in the moments more with facial expressions, and body language kind of comes into play with her performance in Age of Ultron. Not a whole lot. It comes more into play in future movies. But yeah, mostly in facial expressions and capturing what's going on in the character's head without saying anything. And then the next time we see Wanda in Civil War, the performance has evolved a little bit, right? Because the character has evolved. They're in a different place, but it still connects back to what happened in Age of Ultron with the loss of Pietro and how that's affecting the character. So you see the evolution, but it all ties back to the original. And I'll go into the elephant in the room, the performance that got her an award, which I am so happy for, because it's an amazing performance. In WandaVision, there's a lot there There's a lot that she needs to nail in delivery that the show, honestly, would not have worked if she did not nail the performance of Wanda, not just in the key moments, in every moment. Because here's the thing, with a show like that, every moment is a key moment. Because you're taking your knowledge and what you've learned from every moment, and that impacts the end result. So, the show would not have worked as well as it did if she did not nail her performance as well as she did. And she nailed it. Oh my gosh. That's probably the best acting we've seen from her in the Marvel movies as Wanda. That's probably the best the performance has been. But that's because it's the furthest along the evolutionary track, right? Going back to performances don't change, they evolve. So that's the furthest down the evolutionary pipeline. So that's going to be the best, right? And I'll get to the thing where I was saying that this is the thing I noticed about both of them. That is a major reason why they're my favorite, and then I'll move on to the next point because this is getting long and I'm starting to ramble a little bit. But I was watching the audio commentary with my family on Infinity War because I want to go into acting, so I want to learn stuff about that, and the best way to do that is by listening to people who are in the medium, so the directors and the screenwriters. When it got to the scenes where, for Wanda, where she needs to destroy the Mind Stone with Vision, that moment always makes me cry because the acting is amazing when I'm watching it normally. But I still cried during the audio commentary, where I didn't have any of the audio, didn't have any of the speaking, through the face alone, and because I knew what happened, and because I saw, without any dialogue, I saw that change, and I knew that impact, and I still cried without any audio or any of the talking at all. That is incredible to me. And then same thing with Spidey's snapping scene. I still cried because of the performance without any audio. That is amazing. And it's not like it's just because I know the moment. I know the moment where, like, say, Gamora dies, right? I know that moment. And it's a very sad moment. When I watch it normally, I cry with that most of the time. But without the audio, I didn't get that because I didn't have the dialogue. I didn't have the added music. I didn't have all of that, all of those elements. So that moment is sad, right? It has that same weight. But it didn't hit me as much without the audio, without the music, without the dialogue. But the two moments with Wanda and Peter, those both did. And that basically boils down to the reason why those two are my favorite actors. I will stop talking about this point because I know you are probably sick to death of me talking about this. So, next point. Favorite movie and TV show. Favorite movie. Probably Captain America Civil War. Or not Civil War. Winter Soldier. Not Civil War. Civil War is good, but no. Captain America The Winter Soldier. Sorry, I've been thinking about Civil War because that's the next one that we're going to watch the audio commentary on. But yeah. Captain America The Winter Soldier is probably my favorite. TV show? NCIS, for sure. There are like 23 seasons of it now. I don't think it's 23. I think it's like 17, 18, I think. I don't want to get the number wrong. I think it's somewhere like 17, 18. I've rewatched that show at least 7 times all the way through. I'm still not bored of it. I never get bored of it. So that's my answer to that question. What do you think of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and are you going to do a review on the series like you did WandaVision? I loved it, and yes, I'm going to do a review. So I don't want to talk too much about it. But short answer is yes, I'm going to do a review on it, but I haven't been able to because, like I mentioned earlier, the dentist thing where I haven't been able to talk. So, yes, I am going to do a review on it. Which do you prefer, Falcon and Winter Soldier or WandaVision? It's the same thing with like acting performances that I told you earlier. You can't really compare them because they're very, very different. I like both of them probably equally, and I like both of them for very different reasons. So, I'm going to kind of say no comment on that one because I like both of them equally for different reasons. So I feel like I can't really make a comparison on those. Favorite Star Wars movie? Rogue One. Always has been. Probably always will be. Favorite movie not part of Marvel or Star Wars? Ford vs. Ferrari probably for me. Most rewatched movie? When I was younger, I would say Cars. Because I watched that like at least twice a day. Cat from Outer Space is probably a little below that. I'm trying to think now. I don't rewatch movies as much now. Because I watch more movies. So, I'd probably say Cars. Because as much as I've rewatched movies now, still does not match up to the number of times I rewatched Cars as a kid. So, probably Cars, the first one. Bonus, why do you want to get into film/acting as a career? Okay, this is going to be another one that I may rant on a little bit for. For me, it comes down to two main things, really. One, acting is just really fun. I've done it a little bit, but it's just really fun. Like I think we all played as kids, like during recess or something, and we pretended to be other characters. That's just a non-professional form of acting, right? So, I think a little bit of that carries over, and I just loved doing that so much. So, being able to explore that and get into characters, get into the evolution of different characters in a professional context, that's just really exciting to me. That's reason number one. And two is, and this may sound a little cliche, but it's true. I've always felt like film brings people together, right? So when a new movie comes out that everyone's really excited for, people talk about it. They make posts. They go on comment sections or in Reddit threads and talk to people about it. So movies and TV, they spark that engagement of people coming together and just talking, having human conversations. And if I can be a part, even in the tiniest bit, if I can be a part of making that happen, that's just going to be the best feeling in the world. So that's probably part two to that answer. So I'm going to stop myself there because there's a lot more I can get into that, but I'm going to stop there because if I continue on this route, we'll be here for another 3 hours. Bonus number 2. How does your mood help you decide what type of movie you watch? If sad, watch a happy movie or a sad movie. If excited, watch an action movie or movie to calm you down. That's a very good question. I think it definitely does have an effect on me, but I don't think I notice it. So it will have an effect on in my head of thinking what movie I want to watch, but I don't think I notice or register that effect. So it definitely happens, but I can't really comment on that because I don't know how it affects me really. So, but that one I don't really know. I know it does have an effect on me, but I don't know how. so I can't really comment on that at all. So I'm going to go on to next section, which is gaming questions. What's the first game you ever played? I always go back to this. I'm pretty sure it's Skylanders Giants. I'm pretty sure. I might have played like Tetris on one of my parents' phones before this, but the first game I remember playing all the way through, Skylanders Giants. So that's the answer I'm going to stick with. That may not be correct, but it's what I think is correct. Favorite game and why? Spider-Man PS4, because one, it's my favorite superhero, so I might have slight bias, but the story is incredible, is really impactful, and the gameplay is phenomenal. No matter how many times I replay that game, I think I've replayed it like 10 times now. I never get tired of it. Even the things that bug me, like the screwball challenges, which I despise screwball. Just a little side note, I hate screwball. Even those things, I never get tired of them. So, yeah, it's Spider-Man PS4, and I think it probably always will be Spider-Man PS4. Have you ever played in VR? Yes. I kind of have two answers for this, or two times for this. I don't know if the second counts as a game, but I'm going to talk about it. The first time was at a Best Buy, at my local Best Buy. They have like a demo booth. I wish I could remember what the game was called, but I got to put on the headset. I think it wasn't PlayStation VR. I want to say it was an Oculus. I'm pretty sure it was an Oculus. And I got to try that. It is really cool. It is so cool. An amazing experience. Second time was, if any of you guys have been to Downtown Disney and you've seen a store called The Void, you walk in there, it's a VR experience. The time that I went, it was a Star Wars experience. My gosh. It was amazing. It was so cool. Yeah, so I have played in it once. I know the first time definitely counts as gaming because it was me playing a game, which I wish I could remember the title of. Upcoming game that you're most excited for? Horizon Forbidden West, for sure. What's a popular game that you don't like? Destiny 2. I played it a little bit. Could not get into it. The story was boring. I did not like the gameplay. Titanfall is another one. Titanfall 2, specifically. Played that one a little bit when it was free on, I think, PlayStation Plus. Played that a little bit. Just could not get into it. I think it's the same reason as Destiny. But, yeah, there you go. Hot take for you right there. Best video game story, Spider-Man PS4. Briefly touched on it a little bit, but it's just so impactful and just really fun. You know, like, even with, because it tackles some pretty heavy stuff near the last quarter, it's still really fun. And it's a Spider-Man game. You know, where it's tackling serious things. And it's doing that with the respect that something like that deserves, and something like that needs for a story to be successful in that. But it never, like, is super dour. You know, like, even with things like the City Hall bombing, that bit, which is a tremendously heavy scene. It doesn't overdo it. You know, like, you still have the play of how it takes effect on Miles. But it's also hopeful. You know, like, it doesn't, it shows a future for the character outside of that. That's to briefly sidetrack myself, that's the reason I love Spider-Man so much. The character deals with heavy things, but that doesn't change who they are and the positive outlook they have. Little sidetrack there, but that's my answer to that. Where were we? Do you prefer multiplayer or single player games? Single player games. because of the stories. I prefer stories. Not many multiplayer games have stories. Most underrated games in your opinion? The Skylanders games. 100%. That and the Disney Infinity games. They're amazing. Almost no one talks about them anymore. They were talked about for like the week of their release. Then almost no one talked about them anymore. They're amazing. Still, now, they are glorious. Someone, please, give them the attention they deserve. I mean, I'll be happy to do it if no one else is going to do it, but someone, please. What are you currently playing? There aren't any new releases that I'm currently playing right now. I'm constantly playing Spider-Man PS4. I'm in the process of my, I think, like 13th playthrough. I'm doing that right now. I'm going through Hitman 3 a little bit, trying to master some of those levels. So, yeah. Best gameplay in a game. Going back to this game again. Spider-Man PS4. The web swinging. Fantastic. So fluid. Feels great. Combat. Same thing. Is amazing. So, yeah. Spider-Man PS4. Bonus. What game did you play as a kid that you want to replay? Skylanders. Going back to this again. But Skylanders. Oh my gosh. Skylanders is so good. You guys, if you haven't played it, I cannot recommend it enough. It is so good. It is so good. So, yeah, Skylanders. I'm currently in the process of trying to track down a portal for Skylanders Imaginators. It's very hard because they're all either online for a ridiculous price or just not available. So I'm trying to find one that's reasonable in price and is close to me so I can go to get it or just do it off Amazon. But I'm trying to find a portal for the game so I can play it on the channel with you guys. Hopefully I can. Don't hold me to that because I don't know if I'll actually be able to find one. But if I do find one, expect that on the channel. I will give you guys updates on that as that progresses. If you could take a character from one game and put them in a different game, what would you use, or who would you use, sorry, and why? That is a really fun question. I don't know. I really don't know. All I gotta say is maybe I don't know. Maybe yeah, I got nothing. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know. Maybe put Spider-Man in Lego City Undercover or something. That could be interesting. That could add some some very interesting banter between the two main characters. I don't know. That is such a good question. Yeah, that's probably my answer for that. That's an amazing question. That is such a fun question. But yeah, that's my answer to that. So now we're moving on to photography questions. Okay, first question from the photography bunch. Favorite places for photography? It always comes down to this. Joshua Tree National Park. Always a pleasure to visit. So fun. And even though it's a place I've been to tens of times, I was going to say hundreds of times, but I don't want to exaggerate. Probably like, in my life, probably 15 times in my life, probably. Even though I've been there so many times, I'm still finding fresh things. I never get bored of it. Even when we go to the same places within the park, I always see new things there. I'm always able to photograph new things there. So, Joshua Tree for one. Yosemite National Park. I've been there, I think, 3 times, maybe. There's only one time I was really old enough to remember it, really, that I did some photography. I was really little. I think I was like, maybe 10, maybe? Somewhere around there. But I just remember loving it there and loving taking photos there. So, I'm really hoping that in the future we go back with my newfound photography knowledge so I can photograph there again. So Yosemite's up there, and then Universal Studios in LA, but also just the entire of LA. Universal specifically because I've spent more time photographing there, but LA in general just because it's my favorite city. Maybe because I'm really close to it, but just has so much character. Like, everywhere you go, there's this culture clash. Not like, not in a bad way, but there's so many different things that are coming together in that one area that it makes for some really dynamic photo opportunities. And there's some weird stuff, like especially if you go down the main LA street. it's LA's definitely it's definitely unique, and if you can capture that, I think that's always really fun. But Universal specifically is my favorite theme park. It's amazing. I love Universal. Love, love, love Universal. And there's so much to photograph there, whether it be on the rides, the buildings, the characters. There's so much to do. It's glorious for photography. Why do you enjoy photography? This is a loaded question. I made an entire video on this a while ago. But, real quick synopsis. It's just a fun thing to do. I enjoy doing. Just it is fun to work with the camera. And two, it helps me look at the world in ways that I wouldn't have. Looking for photos and training my mind to look for photos made me realize and see so many things in my day-to-day life and in the locations that I go to shoot that I would not have noticed if I weren't taking photos and if I hadn't trained my brain to look for those things for photos. So, like, I love the world. As cliche as that statement sounds, I just love the world. So, if something like photography allows me to view it and see new things about it, then that is glorious to me. So, those are the two main reasons for me. Favorite story behind one of your photos? Ooh. Ooh. That's a good question. I'm trying to think. I can't think of a favorite right now. So I will say, I'll just say one of my Universal ones, or just any of my Universal photos, because I can't think of a specific one right now. I always go to Universal with my family, so any photo that I take there, it reminds me of going there and experiencing it with my family. So for the Universal photos, it's probably that. I can't think of any other ones. If I think of one, I will record another segment and paste it here. But if I can't, then yeah, that's my answer. When did you start photography? I've basically been doing photography my entire life. Because my dad does photography a lot, so I got introduced to it through him. I only really started doing photography, like myself, as a passion, super duper. I only like really super duper got into it. I want to say maybe like 3 years ago now. So yeah, that's probably my answer. So my entire life really honed in on it about 3 years ago. How do you decide what to photograph in an area? I think it's just what stands out, what has character in that place, and what can you get a good, pleasing shot with that tells the story of the area. Going back to what I was talking about with LA for a minute, just capturing the character in an area. What makes that area so special? What makes that place what it is? Capturing that. If you find something that can capture the spirit of an area, or just something that would look pleasing with in your camera, it's basically those two things. It's either the really complicated answer of, oh, capture the character in the area, or just, it looks good. Those two, probably those two things. What attracts you to an area of photography? Basically the same thing on what I just said with how do I decide what to photograph. Just what has character, what looks really unique, what can I make a good photo out of. It's basically, you may not be able to go out to shoot with what's going on in the world right now. How do you stay motivated for photography for when you can go out? That's a good question. I want to say for me, it's probably just the desire to go out and explore and experience the world. So, for me, photography goes hand in hand with going out in my everyday. I'm constantly looking for photos. Even if it's not me going out specifically for photos, even if it's just like going to the grocery store, running errands, doing the day to day, I'm constantly on the lookout for things I can make photos out of. So, I don't think it's necessarily a case of what makes you go out and do photos again. It's just what gives you the motivation to take the photos, you know? So I think for me, it's just a matter of the desire to share the world and the beauty I see in the world with others. So it's just finding that spark again. As as cliche as that sounds, it's just finding that again. Whatever it is in the moment that makes me want to capture that, I hold on to that and just carry that with me. So that's a probably an overcomplicated answer to your question, but that's probably my answer to your question. When shooting people, how do you make them comfortable slash natural in front of the camera? Okay, so I don't do people photography very much, but when I have, the thing that I find works really well is don't make it like a photo shoot. And that may sound funny, but like with the person you're shooting, I'm going to come at this from like the professional shooting standpoint. If it's something where you're shooting, right, both of you have things you need to do. Like you, as a photographer, need to get certain shots on a certain deadline, whatever, and the person you're shooting needs to get the shots done and let you have the shots done, right? It's a very exchange-based thing. Like you're both there for a thing, you're on a schedule, whatever. The less you can make it feel like it's a job and more just like two people just having fun, having a conversation, the more natural it's going to come. So for me, what I do when I'm trying to get a person to do something, like if I want them to look happy, look a certain way at the camera, I won't tell them, look happy, look this way. I will go to that area, set up my camera, and like tell them a joke or something. Get the expression naturally. So talk to them, make them smile, then capture that. Don't make it seem make it seem organic. Don't make it seem like it's a forced thing. I hope that makes sense. But that's kind of the approach I've taken like every twice that I've done it. But that's what worked then. So that's what I can imagine works for more people. So yeah, that would be my approach to it, and that has been my approach to it. And it works pretty well. It gives you a lot better photos, I find. What's the key to good photos? That's a loaded question. I'd probably say if it's something you enjoy, So just have fun taking the photo. Because you can tell when a photo's just taken because they need to take a photo. You can tell that they're not having fun with it. It may seem strange, but you can tell. So I think the key to a good photo is being genuinely passionate about what you're doing and what you're taking the photo of, because that will come through. You may be like, oh, how do I capture my passion in the photo? Don't worry about it. That, I promise you, that comes naturally. You can tell when a photo is from a genuine creator. You can tell. So to me, the key is just being genuine in your photo, not trying to force something. Just be genuine. And this this is a good tip for anything. Just be genuine. Just be genuinely you. Don't force anything, is what I'd say for that. Bonus, favorite photography style and why? I don't know if I necessarily have a style per se, but I like going in on the details for what most people don't normally shoot. What isn't the thing, like if you look up photos of an area, I don't want my photos to just be what everyone else is taking. I like to hone in on the details, the specific things that makes an area special or a person special. So focusing on those things, focusing on the details that most people just skim over, like a unique crack in the pavement that most people literally just walk over every day. Small things like that. That's that's my style, I guess you could say. I don't think I think I'm still learning really what my quote unquote style is. But for now, where it stands now, as I'm recording this, that's probably what I'd say. Just capturing the small details. And we have one bonus question here that doesn't really fit into any categories. Do you like to read, and why? Or, no, not why. Do you like to read? End of statement there. That's a question. I don't have to say that. Favorite book? I like reading. I don't read as much as I want to. I read sometimes, like I'm currently reading Star Wars Revan, which I'm loving. I don't know what it is. I love reading. When I do it, I love it. But I don't do it very much. I honestly don't know why. That's always been an issue with me. When I'm reading, I love reading. But I don't do it very much. I honestly don't know why. So, yeah, there's there's your answer to that. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a really fun one to make. Not being scripted is really fun. And just talking, just having a conversation with you guys. It's really fun. So, hope you guys enjoyed watching the video as much as I did making it. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel to see more content by me. And if you want to see even more content by me, then feel free to follow me on my Instagram and Twitter pages, which is at Ninja Family Entertainment. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you guys have an amazing day. I've really missed making videos. I'll see you guys later. Bye.